The clock is ticking on Bill Belichick and the Patriots. Should he make a huge trade to draft one of these guys? We'll tell you next. Plus, who could slide and end up being the steal of the entire NFL draft? Dominique Foxworth will answer that question and more as we continue. And again, today's whole question is a pretty straightforward one. Who do you believe the 49ers should take with the third pick in this draft? They're the three quarterbacks, Jones, Fields, and Lance. This is an argument started between Dominique Foxworth and Mel Kiper. Which way are you going? Pumpkin pie or sweet potato pie? Right now, Mel's side is winning. Dominique, you need to rally the troops. We'll continue in a moment. It's Get Up on ESPN.
What question are you trying to ask? You better remember.
I'm not answering this. It's a clown question, bro.
Next. Mike, why are you in such a bad mood? What do you care? What else do you want to know? Next question.
Next question.
Next question. Next question.
I'm not going to answer any questions for you.
Answer my question! The question, jerk!
I look forward to this all week. This is where I will ask a series of hard-hitting, provocative questions to Dominique Foxworth, and whether he wants to or not, he has to answer them. And here's the first one. They are your arch rivals, Dominique. Will the Pittsburgh Steelers find their quarterback of the future in this draft?
I doubt it. I think that there is some hope in Pittsburgh that they might be able to move up and grab Justin Fields, but thanks to the 49ers, the price of a pick has gone up. And I don't see Kevin Colbert, who's a very savvy GM out there in Pittsburgh, I don't see him paying what the price will require to move up and get a quarterback like Justin Fields. So I think we're looking at another year with Ben Roethlisberger, and maybe they'll give Haskins some run towards the end of the year to see what they have in him, but I don't think this draft is where the Steelers find their quarterback of the future.
Yeah, there are a few other names that people should know that will go later in the draft that maybe they will like Kellen Mond or Kyle Trask, Jamie Newman, Davis Mills. It does not appear easy for them to get one of the big five. All right, next up, Nick, here's your team. Will the Ravens draft a wide receiver in round one, and if so, which one?
Oh, it'd be crazy if they draft a quarterback. I'm going to say no. That was the easier question. I wish you would have stuck with that. But I think they probably do get a receiver. Because of that trade that they made, sending Orlando Brown Jr. out to Kansas City, they acquired their second first-round pick. And this is a very deep draft for receivers. So there'll be plenty of receivers towards the end of that draft. I see them going for a guy like Rashad Bateman. He's an outstanding playmaker. The man has two dangly earrings, which means he's full of confidence, and he wears number 0. So I love him as a prospect. I can see him landing in Baltimore towards the end of the first round and hopefully allowing Lamar Jackson to reach his potential as a passer.
I love that pick. In a draft filled with small, fast guys and big physical guys, Rashad Bateman is both. And if he had been drafted a year ago, he would have been talked about up at the top of the draft. All right, one more. Give me a player that you think could slide in this draft and thus become an absolute steal.
Yeah, I think this is along that same conversation. I think it's Devontae Smith, because I think this draft is full of really good receivers, and he had an incredible Heisman Trophy season. And it's hard to find knocks on any of these receivers in this draft. But there's one big glaring knock on Smith, is that his size. And at 166 pounds, I think it was, a lot of teams, I believe, will talk themselves out of getting him. It doesn't matter how well he's performed. I think he's going to translate to the NFL quite well, but there are some teams in the league that will wait or look for another receiver just because they can see that as some sort of injury risk or providing some challenges for him in press coverage, which we've seen no evidence of as far as him as a college player so far.
I think that's a good call. I think if all 5 quarterbacks do go in the top 10, then one of the big receivers in this draft, likely either Smith or his former teammate Jalen Waddle, are the ones who wind up sliding out of that top 10, and if so, then that could become a steal. I like that pick. Meanwhile, let's talk about the Patriots. They struggled at quarterback last season. Cam Newton throwing 8 touchdowns and 10 interceptions. It was a difficult year for him. There were a lot of reasons why that may have been, but one way or another, that was a tough season. Meanwhile, since 2001, there have been 387 instances of a quarterback starting at least 15 games in a season, and Cam's 8 touchdowns were the fewest in that span. So, might the Patriots draft a quarterback in round 1? Well, they haven't done that since 1993. That was the man they took back then. That was Drew Bledsoe. That was well before Bill Belichick got there, of course. Here are picks 4 through 15 in this draft. You see them there at the bottom of your screen. The Patriots are the team that is at 15, and we highlighted the ones that feel kind of open for business for you there. Maybe Atlanta's a good spot to trade up. Maybe Detroit. Maybe Carolina. This feels like it's going to be a very interesting interesting way to play this thing out. So I guess we will start, Tim Hasselbeck, before I get to the information piece of this with Diana. Do you believe, Tim, that the Patriots need to do something aggressive and try and get themselves the quarterback of their future at the top of this draft?
I believe that they should. Do I believe that they need to? I get the sense that they, don't want to chase a prospect that they don't love. And so if the quarterback that they really like happens to be gone, then no, they don't. But all that's to say is if the quarterback they do like, let's say they like Justin Fields, and he is going to slide a little bit, and he's not going to be, a top 5 pick. Well, then all of a sudden, does it make sense to get in front of Denver? Does it make sense, to get on the phone with Detroit and figure out a way to make that happen? Look, I would recommend that because I don't think Cam's the answer. I thought he would play better a year ago. He most certainly did not, and I think that's what we're going to see, from him, this coming season. So I think they need to address the position, and I think if Fields is a guy they like, I do think they should be aggressive if they can go get him.
Diana, what is the sense of what Belichick is expected to do from the people you talk to around the league?
Yeah, it's all going to depend on how much they love Justin Fields. But I think the other part of this, Green, that we got to think about heading into the draft is, can they afford to move up? Can they do this? And something to keep in mind, and it's a small little storyline to keep an eye on, Stephon Gilmore is in his final year of his 5-year contract with the New England Patriots. He's making about $7 million this season. That's severely underpaid for the Defensive Player of the Year for 2019. The New England Patriots could perhaps deal Stephon Gilmore on draft night as part of a package to move up if they are in the business of getting a quarterback. I did speak to a team in the top 10 who told me that they have had calls with New England. So it is something that's being discussed. It just will it really go down and happen on Thursday night?
Oh, I like that little wrinkle to throw into the conversation, Dominique. The possibility of not just trading draft picks, but maybe trading a superstar player. What do you think?
Yeah, that's really smart. Diana is on top of it because she's right about that situation. I can't see Bill Belichick committing himself to Stephon Gilmore going forward. And it reminds me a lot of what we talked about earlier with the Ravens-Chiefs trade about Orlando Brown. They knew they weren't going to be able to afford to pay 2 left tackles, so they traded Orlando Brown for some value. And trade rumors have been around Gilmore for this past year. So I could see that absolutely happening because then they look at it and they feel like they haven't lost much because they still have a ton of great corners on that, or not a ton, but they have enough great corners on that roster to be all right. And moving up to find a quarterback, potentially a quarterback who has a similar style to Cam Newton and Justin Fields, I think will be a really smart move. Nice job, Diana.
And so I guess the question, Tim, is how high up they need to go to do it, right? Like, it's one thing to say they'll go to 8. Yeah.
Yeah. I really think it's 7. I think that I think there's enough personal relationships as well that there could be trusted communication between the people that are.
Tonight, I'll be eating fried avocado tacos.
Thank you. Ooh, you gonna eat that at Leslie Palooza?
What? Who's coming to that?
Everyone coming. Everybody. You, her, me, all of us.
Up with the 49ers on the fence. The biggest decision in the draft is going right down to the wire. We've got the latest. Plus, is Bill ready to make the biggest draft move of his career? Could it involve trading a superstar? We've got the insight. And speaking of trading superstars, wait until you hear what's happening with Julio. Oh, it's a busy day, and we're ready to get up with you starting right now on a Tuesday from New York. I am Greeny, delighted you were here. T-minus 2 days and counting to round one of the NFL draft, and we are getting you ready. We put together exactly the right people to do it. Jeff Saturday is handing out pancakes this morning. Damian Woody is gladly eating them. Kimberly Martin has the very latest, and David Pollack hasn't eaten a carb since I don't even know when. I ran out of jokes. Let's get this thing started. 2 days till the draft, and the 49ers still don't know for sure who they're taking with the third pick. That's what they're saying, and candidly, we're buying it. Head coach Kyle Shanahan talking about their decision to trade up and where the pre-draft process has led them. Listen to this.
You know, when we made this decision, we knew that there were 5 guys that we felt that we'd be okay with taking. You know, we knew that there was 3 at the time exactly. That's why we thought 3 was a good spot to go to. After going through this whole process, I feel good about 5 guys at 3. And yeah, we probably started with 1 in mind, but that one's gotten better since, and so have all the other candidates. Do we know exactly who we want? Maybe, probably, but maybe not. I don't feel like we need to say that. And no one's really going to know whether we know or not until we pick. And that's kind of what we're comfortable keeping it at.
So what you see there is a skeptical David Pollack, and he may be speaking for a lot of people, saying, how in the world could the 49ers not know by now who they are taking? Well, I want you to listen to Adam Schefter on SportsCenter yesterday evening with the insight.
When the 49ers traded up initially weeks ago, there was one guy they had in mind, and I believe that guy was Mac Jones. Now, when they traded up to that spot, they also recognized the fact that there was going to be a month plus to do a deep dive into Trey Lance and Justin Fields, which is exactly what's happened. They've explored the other quarterbacks, and guess what? They like what they've seen, and they are very comfortable at number 3, and we're going to find out who the pick is Thursday night, but I don't believe right now they have made a firm decision about which quarterback they're going to take.
Okay, so that's Adam Schefter with the latest. Here's my entire squad. David, I'll give you the first word because you gave us the good face. So why so skeptical? What is your reaction to all this?
Bro, wah, 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 wah. You know what this is called? This is called covering your bleep, covering your backside. I mean, listen, they moved up. They know who they want, but what they want to make it look like, oh crap, if Justin Fields and Trey Lance and they become superstars, we just want you to know it was really close with Mac Jones. Like, we had him neck and neck, and we studied him for weeks and weeks and weeks. They know who they want. We're pretty sure at this point it's Mac Jones, but I think it's a good way of covering your bases and saying we've been studying him, and just we want everybody to know we're doing our due diligence, and we're not just overlooking, we're not just going to throw in our card.
I like it. Damian Woody, I was looking through your notes as well, and you were suggesting they got to know who they're taking. Everyone seems to think this. D. Wood, go ahead.
Yeah, I agree with my guy D. Pollack, man. You know who the hell you taking. You move up to number 3, man. You know exactly who you are taking. Okay, believe me. Kyle Shanahan has a guy in mind that's going to run his system the way he wants it ran. Now, here's what I think is going on. We've been on this show now for about a couple weeks, ever since this whole trade. We've been talking about Justin Fields and all the things that he brings to the table and what he will look like in a Kyle Shanahan offense. We've talked about Trey Lance and all his abilities and what the things that he could possibly do. So if you're the 49ers and Kyle Shanahan right now, you're like, maybe I need to throw out a little nugget right here to kind of get these guys off my back a little bit. But he knows exactly who he's going to pick at number 3.
Jeff?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, Green. Listen, I'd be shocked. I'm shocked that they're even having this conversation, because here's the truth of it all. John Lynch gave this to Kyle Shanahan. He's made it abundantly clear Shanahan's going to make the call on quarterbacks, because it's like a master chef, right? You don't mess with the ingredients. When you know what that guy wants, you let him go get it. So